Hi classmates, today I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of my research. Racial Identity, School Racial Climate, and School Motivation by Christy Bird and Tabby Chavez. Hi classmates, today I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Alfonzo Houston. I'm a psychology major, senior from Cleveland, Ohio, and this is my second year attending NCCU. Some background about my article, which is mainly about the racial identity beliefs of adolescents to their motivation for attending schools and whether these relationships vary for the youth experiencing negatives and positives of the racial climates at school. When one group of students outperforms another group and the difference in the average scores for the two groups is statistically significant, it's called an achievement gap. The NAEP reports on the white and the black achievement gap, using readings and scores to separate these two groups to illuminate patterns and changes in these gaps over time. The author's theory, which was basically the school setting, which is basically the main issue. People argue that school settings are more consistent with supporting youth in school, support higher achievement motivation. Right here is a theoretical model which basically describes the African Americans' measures and steps to having good school motivation and what they need, and these are some of the measures. Racial identity, sensuality and regard, which leads to supportive racial environment, which leads to school belonging, which also finish out as school's motivation. The hypothesis of this article, the authors predict that there is an achievement gap between whites and blacks academically, and they believe that peers and teachers can be the motivation for African Americans academically in school. Some of the methods, they used methods in this article, and one method they used was the authors used 359 African American 11th graders who attended public schools in the neighborhoods with diverse demographic characteristics, and split them up and show them how they act in classroom with peers around them and how they act in the school environment. Some of the measures that this article used was racial identity, which is a multidimensional inventory of black identity based on one's perception. Sensuality, which is how important race is to one's identity. Regard, which is how favorable one feels about a race. School racial climate refers to norms and interactions around race and diversity within the school context and can be examined from a variety of perspectives, defined as students' subjective experience of the school setting. Teachers and peers have a lot to do with these measures because they impact mostly on all of these measures towards African Americans in school. School belonging is another measure, which is belonging in a setting in terms of relatedness and secure and satisfying connections with others. Another one is school motivation, which is typically defined as the forces that account for the arousal, selection, direction, and continuation of behavior in school. The results that this article found was that they found that teachers' positive racial climate predicted higher school motivation. However, the peers' positive racial climate had no relationship in whatsoever. To conclude this article, African Americans with strong racial pride, being in schools with a fair and respectful racial climate, which appears to be most adaptive for satisfying youth needs for belonging and encouraging motivation in schools. This article contributes to the racial identity literature by complicating the discourse over whether racial identity beliefs are adaptive or maladaptive in school environments. I believe that with school support from teachers and peers would cause blacks and whites to stick with school, and from that will increase the achievement gap rate more for African Americans and cause whites and blacks to have the same achievement level. Now think about this, classmates. If you have a child and you wanted him to stay in school and continue school for years and years, how would you want your children school climate, and how would you want their school to be like? How would you want their environment to be? Think about that as you're reading this presentation and researching this PowerPoint. And so I got some discussion questions too for you guys to answer, and just give me some feedback on how you think. Thank you.